I want to talk to you guys about dysfunction in American society, specifically in regards to those who will defend literally the scum of humanity, the worst of the worst, those who commit egregious and heinous crimes. And you have people in America who sympathize with these monsters, and they will be angry. They will be angry at the judges who implement justice on these very monsters. For example, today I was reading a story that took place in the year 2007. There was a murderer by the name of Michael Wayne Richard, or Michael Wayne Richard. And he was going to face capital punishment. He was going to be executed by the state of Texas. His lawyers went to the judge and they said, "Oh, we want to make an appeal, but our computer isn't working." And they're probably boomers who don't really know how to operate a computer properly. And the computer supposedly wasn't working, and the lawyers told the judge just moments or really right before his execution. I'm not entirely sure what the time frame was, but it was really, really close to his execution. And the lawyers went to the judge. Her name is Sharon Keller. They went to Judge Sharon Keller and they said, "Our computer isn't working. Could you just give us 20 more minutes?" And the judge, Sharon Keller, said, "We close at 5. That's what she told them. She told these asshole lawyers, "We close at 5. Better make it quick." And Mr. Richard, or Richard, was executed. He was executed at the time that was designated for his execution because his lawyers could not get their appeal in time due to their computer not working. And they said, "Could you just give us 20 more minutes, please, Mrs. Judge?" And the judge said, "We close at 5, better make it quick." So there was this huge uproar, and they said, "Oh, Judge Sharon Keller," and they started calling her Judge Killer Keller, because her last name Keller sounds like killer, so they started calling her Judge Killer. Oh, she's ruthless. She's so cruel, because this poor man who's just stuck in prison was simply trying to make an appeal so that he will not be executed. And this evil judge just put an end to it, and she had him killed. And then, before she had him killed, she ruthlessly said, "We close at 5. I don't care if your lawyer's computer is not working. We close at 5. Basically, you're going to die." This guy, Michael Wayne Richard, he was basically getting all of this sympathy from lawyers and activists because the judge said, "We close at 5. It's time for you to die. If you can't get your appeal in time, you're going to die because your execution has been designated for this particular date, and you're taking too long. Your lawyers are taking too long. It's not her problem if the lawyer's computer doesn't work. This person has been found guilty. He has been sentenced to death, and that punishment must be carried out. It's not the judge's problem if your computer doesn't work and you got a bunch of boomers for lawyers who don't know how to properly use a computer. Who knows? Maybe if they had a 15-year-old whiz kid, maybe they wouldn't have had that problem. But justice was carried out. But there was so much hatred against this judge. And it was almost like Richard was a victim and the judge was the murderer. But let's read about what Richard actually did. Let's read the details of the crime. Here is a graphic description, a very, very accurate description of what Richard did back in the 1980s. And this is from Murderpedia. It says here, "Margaret Lucille Dixon was the mother of 7 grown children and a registered nurse living in Hockley, Texas, when Michael Richard was paroled from prison." So this asshole was sentenced to, I think, 5 years in prison for some crime. I believe it was robbery. And he was out on parole because we have to show mercy to people and give people second chances and let them just, let them be out on parole. It's okay. Let them be out on parole. That's fine. That's not going to increase the crime rate at all. That's not going to give these people some free time so that they can commit more crimes. No. That would never happen. No. These people are innocent. They're all victims, and we're just putting them in cages as if they're animals, right? So it says here, on August 18th, 1986, Richard approached Marguerite's son outside her home and asked if a van that was parked in the driveway was for sale. When the son told Richard that the van was not for sale, Richard left but watched the home until he saw Marguerite's son and daughter leave a short time later. You know where we're going with this, right? You know what's about to happen. Something very, very sinister is about to happen. Richard returned to Marguerite's house and forced his way in. He forced Marguerite into a bedroom where he sexually assaulted her before shooting her in the head with a .25 caliber pistol. After the rape and murder, Richard stole 2 televisions and the van. He later traded the murder weapon for cocaine. His fingerprint was found on a sliding glass door in Marguerite's home. Richard later confessed to the murder but claimed the gun discharged accidentally. Sure. Prior to murder, Richards had served just over half of a 6-year sentence for burglary and was returned to prison less than 4 years later with a 5-year sentence for auto theft and forgery. He served less than 18 months before being released on mandatory release on June 23rd, 1986, just 2 months before murdering Marguerite Dixon. So there's our criminal justice system, and I'm so tired of hearing about how bad our criminal justice system is to the criminals. We keep hearing about how, the criminal justice system is so bad for these criminals because we mistreat criminals and we mistreat prisoners, but we don't talk about how the criminal justice system actually gives space and free time for criminals to commit more crimes. This guy didn't give a damn about Marguerite Dixon's life. He raped her and murdered her. So yes, the judge saying we close at 5, yes, it's completely warranted for this piece of crap. Absolutely, it's completely warranted. Completely deserved. And this guy raped and murdered a mother, and her children came back home to see their mother dead, shot in the head by this asshole, by this monster. But we're supposed to feel sorry for him, and we're supposed to hate the judge who blocked his appeal so that he can live a little bit longer. Well, to hell with him. It's like that scene from Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. There's a scene where Denzel Washington's character tells a Mexican narco murderer, I wish you had more time, as there is a bomb literally ticking inside of his asshole. And Denzel Washington gives him like 2 minutes to live. And the guy is panicking, and Denzel says, I wish you had more time. This is pretty much what this is. This guy's saying, I need some more time. 20 more minutes. And the judge says, nope, we close at 5. I wish you had more time, though, but you don't. You raped and murdered a woman. You didn't give a damn about her life. You didn't give a damn about how much time she had been on this earth raising those 7 children. You didn't give a damn. And this asshole's sister says, my brother was wrongfully executed because he was retarded. Oh, really? He was retarded. He was calculative enough to ask Marguerite's children if the van was for sale so that he could trick the kids into thinking that he was harmless. He was just there to inquire about the sale of a van. And then he was calculative enough to watch the house and wait for the kids to leave so that he could enter the home and rape and murder this woman. Well, the guy deserved death, and there is no doubt about that. And who were they giving crap to? They weren't giving crap to the system which gave parole to this monster and allowed him to commit more crimes. They gave crap to the judge, Judge Sharon Keller, because she told this asshole's lawyers that we close at 5 and it's not our problem that your computer is not working and you can't get in your client's appeal in on time. And they said, oh, look how ruthless she is. But Michael Richards, he didn't give a damn about Marguerite Dixon's life. He murdered Marguerite Dixon's, and he didn't give her a chance to live. He took away her right to life, and we're supposed to be mad because some judge says, "You're out of time, asshole," to a murderer and rapist. It really goes to show how dysfunctional of a society we are. And we are only getting worse. So this asshole, Mr. Richard, he was in death row for 20 years before being executed. So the asshole was just appealing and appealing and appealing. And he just wanted to appeal some more so he can live some more time, right? He wanted to live his life longer. He didn't want to die. So he just wanted to appeal. And he said, his lawyer said, oh, just give us 20 more minutes. And the judge said no. And he was executed. 20 years of making appeals, of preventing justice from being implemented. And this guy was sentenced to death for raping and murdering a mother of 7. And the anger was expressed not towards the rapist and the murderer, but towards the judge who said, kill this bastard. I don't give a shit if his lawyer's computer is not working. And isn't it amazing? We keep hearing about, oh yeah, you know, you have these feminists who come around and they're all like edgy and they're edgelords and you know they're hardcore feminists and they got the blue hair or whatever. And they're like, yeah, these rapists, yeah, kill them or whatever, you know, cut their you-know-what's off. Yeah, he's a, what's the word? He's a sexist. He's a misogynist bastard, blah, blah, blah. But a guy rapes and murders a woman, and the judge says, to hell with him, kill him. And it's a female judge, by the way. And I'm sure the judge is thinking, I'm a woman. The victim is a woman. That could happen to any one of us women. So to hell with this guy, kill him. And they attack the judge. They attack the judge, and they have sympathy for the criminal. The murderer and the rapist is now the victim. The real victim, Marguerite Lucille Dixon, well, she's not even in the discussion. They don't even talk about her. They just want to talk about the fact that a judge implemented justice. It's sickening. It's so sickening. And I was reading this article that came out, I think this came out yesterday or 2 days ago. It was published by the Detroit Catholic, and it says here, Christ's suffering on Good Friday, a call to pray for death penalty abolition. Look what it says here. Catholics should mark Christ's suffering and death on Good Friday with prayers for an end to the use of the death penalty, Catholic opponents of the practice said. Catholic Mobilizing Network, a group that opposes capital punishment, will host April 7th a virtual prayer vigil for an end to capital punishment as part of its First Friday prayer series. Chrisan Villancourt Murphy, the group's executive director, told OSV News that, quote, Jesus was a victim of capital punishment. Okay. Let's just ignore the fact that the evil thief, the unrepentant thief, was the one who told Jesus, free us from capital punishment. And the repentant thief, who Christ said, "You will be with me in paradise," is the one who says, "We deserve capital punishment." The one who Christ favored was not the one who was appealing his sentence, but the one who said, "We deserve capital punishment." The unrepentant thief was going to the appeals court. He was going to Christ, just like these criminals go to the appellate court. Christ, free us. Christ, I'm appealing to you to free us from capital punishment. Well, that was the one who was rejected from paradise. The one who was accepted into paradise was the thief who said, "We deserve capital punishment." Now, the abolitionists, the people who want to abolish the death penalty, will argue that Christ was killed by a system of capital punishment. And that's true. He was killed by capital punishment. He was killed through the implementation of capital punishment. But nonetheless, the righteous thief on the cross said, "This man does not deserve it, but we do." And by that, Christ told him, "You will be with me in paradise." By declaring that Christ's crucifixion was an unjust punishment, an unjust execution, carried out on an innocent man, and admitting that he himself, he, meaning the repentant thief, deserved capital punishment, and the unrepentant thief also deserved capital punishment, Christ accepts him into paradise. Christ accepts him into paradise. So by recognizing an unjust execution and recognizing a just execution, Christ accepts the repentant thief. And so therefore, this whole argument of, well, Christ was killed by capital punishment, or Christ was killed through capital punishment, and therefore capital punishment is unjust, is nonsense. This whole form of argumentation, the logic is not there. It's just garbage, because the repentant thief recognizes the difference between an unjust killing and a just killing. And so I recognize that an unjust killing may be carried out by a tyrannical government. And at the same time, I recognize that a just killing can be carried out. There is a difference. And this distinction is made in the story of the repentant thief. It's because the people who want to abolish the death penalty will say, well, governments have killed innocent people and governments have executed righteous people. That's true. And those are unjust. At the same time, the government has killed people, or governments have killed people who deserve it. Mr. Richard is one of them. Michael Richard is one of the people who got a just execution. Bottom line. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.